For the day. All right, so this is the info session for Ireland, which is taking place from October 21st to 28th, 2026. This is a picture from a few years ago when we were in Ireland. We really love Ireland and love going back almost every year. So, just a little overview of the itinerary. We're going to be doing a loop of sort of the southern half of the island of Ireland. There's obviously Ireland and then Northern Ireland. We're not going to make it into Northern Ireland. We're just going to be focused on um, the main island of Ireland, its own country. Arrivals and departures will be through Dublin, but we will have trains and private buses that take us around the rest of the island. And we're going to go from Dublin, which is on the uh, east coast, all the way to Galway on the west coast, and then down the southwest coast and back up to Dublin. So in a big circle. The overview of the itinerary. So start in Dublin. This afternoon, we'll do a little stroll around our neighborhood and have welcome dinner. If you want to arrive a day early, that's fine. If you want to arrive, the morning of October 21st, that also works. Either way, we recommend planning that your flight will leave the night before because most flights from the US and Canada will be overnight, arriving to Dublin in the morning. The 22nd, we will have our city tour in the morning. This will focus on the history and the main sort of architectural landmarks of the city of Dublin. And then in the afternoon, you'll have some free time. This is a good time if you want to do the Guinness brewery tour. That's been something that's been popular in free time in past trips. And then we'll go to a traditional Irish pub for some live music and dinner. Then the 23rd, we will take the train after a free morning, sleep in probably about 11:30. We'll take the train to Galway. It's about a 2-hour train ride across this really scenic part of Ireland, so you'll get to, view all of the Irish landscapes changing as you take the train to Galway. And then we'll have dinner and some free time in the evening. Galway is very famous for its street musicians and, again, live music scene. So we'll go to dinner, and after dinner, there are some great pubs where, if you're interested in traditional Irish music, those are really fun to hang out in. Then we will wake up a bit early on the 24th in order to do our day trip to the Cliffs of Moher and Burren. So we're going to travel Galway, sort of the center of of the island of Ireland on the west coast, and we're going to travel all the way down um, to these really impressive cliffs. You'll see all of the different landscapes and some really nice views. And then Burren is really ancient Irish city, and we'll have the chance to explore there as well as stop for lunch. And then we'll get back to the city of Galway and have dinner that evening. The 25th, we will explore the drive from Galway to Killarney and make a stop in Limerick, which is another really famous Irish town, for lunch and have some free time, arriving in Killarney before dinner and having, again, a little bit of free time. The goal is really, in many of these places, free time walking around, looking at just different shopping, all of the different pubs, all of the different colorful houses is a big part of the fun of going to Ireland and exploring pubs and having tea and coffee and things like that. So you'll have lots of free time in each of these little towns that we're visiting. The 26th in Killarney will be our Dingle Peninsula tour. So the Dingle Peninsula is one of the most remote parts of Ireland, and it is pretty much uninhabited except for the small town of Dingle. But we will go first to a sheepdog demo at a working farm and learn about how the farmers use sheepdogs to herd all of the sheep in Ireland. We'll then do Sleehead Drive, which, if you've ever seen these pictures of basically green rolling hills with cliffs down into the ocean, that's probably Sleehead Drive. And then finally, we'll have lunch in Dingle and learn a little bit about this fishing town, and then make our way back to Killarney for overnight. Then the 27th, we will return from Killarney to Dublin with a stop in Kilkenny, which has a really famous castle, the Castle of Kilkenny. And it also has a cute town that's inside the castle walls. So we will explore that over lunch and then get back to Dublin, have our farewell dinner with departures from Dublin on the 28th. So a little bit more about what we'll do in each of these cities. In Dublin, we'll have our guided tour. You'll see Trinity College, and the Book of Kells. You'll see Dublin Castle and St. Stephen's Green, which is St. Stephen's Basilica, and this really nice park right outside of it. And then the Temple Bar district is sort of the nightlife district of Dublin. It has this really famous Temple Bar, which has these big flower boxes all over the outside of the bar, and it's a big photo stop. But the whole neighborhood is very colorful. They always have flags and lots of just interesting decor. So it's a fun area to walk and shop in. Like I said, we'll have a traditional Irish pub dinner with live music, and then some free time if you want to visit any of the museums or go to the Guinness Storehouse. There is that free afternoon as well as a short free morning in Dublin. In Galway, we will stroll through the Latin Quarter, which is this photo here, where it's colorful shops, lots of cobblestones, and it's just a very ancient part of the city. So our hotel will be just right in or on the side of the Latin Quarter, and it's easy to walk out and explore on your own. And then again, we'll eat at lots of traditional Irish pubs. And there is a really nice waterfront in Galway that has all of these colorful wooden houses. So we'll take a wander along that for some great photos. In Killarney, we will again discover a little bit lesser known Irish town. It's very historic and again, very colorful. Plus, this will be our base to be able to do the Dingle Peninsula day trip and drive. And as well as we're really excited to add visiting this working farm to learn a bit more about sheepdogs and sheep farming in Ireland, which is a big part of the economy. And then thinking about where we are staying. So we will be staying at the Wren Urban Nest, sorry, in Dublin, at the beginning and the end of the trip. Then in Galway, we will be at the Victoria House, which is right by the Latin Quarter. And then finally, we'll be at the Hotel Killarney in Killarney. So you have sort of 2 nights here, 2 nights here, 2 nights here, and then one night back at the Urban Nest at the end of the trip. So we're moving around a lot compared to some of our WTA tours, but the goal is to be able to help you see really a whole tour and loop of the Irish coasts and countryside. In terms of pricing, in single occupancy, the price is 6,395 for the 7 nights, 8 days. This includes all of your meals with the exception of one free lunch in Dublin. And it also is all of our dinners. For those who haven't joined a tour before, all of our meals are a la carte, so you can order what you want off the menus. It also is going to include our train tickets as well as a private minibus driver who's going to act as our driver and guide for everything from Galway back to Dublin. He'll be with us and showing us all of the different landscapes, the history, the castles, etc. And then all of the entrance fees to the monuments, the places that we visit are also included. So the only things not included would be your international flights, travel insurance, any alcoholic beverages, and then if you do a spa service or something like that, or souvenir shopping, that is not included in the price. But otherwise, really all of your airport transfers, transportation, etc., is included. And then a little bit about the weather and other FAQs for Ireland in October. So the highs should be in the 50s to 60s and the lows in the 40s. It's Ireland, so you always want to bring a rain jacket. This time of year in Ireland is rainier. It's the beginning of fall. But we have visited Ireland at different times of year, including October before, and you get a mix of rain and sun and clouds. Each day can have all three in the period of a day. So you just have to be prepared for different weather at different times and layer up. We also typically find that the mornings are a bit drier than the afternoons. And so we'll frequently start a little bit earlier in the morning to do our tours and activities. That way we can get back in case it starts raining a lot in the afternoon or evening times. The activity level is moderate. You can expect on our walking tours to have 2 to 4 miles of walking per day, but with lots of stops at a pretty leisurely pace. Ireland is a very ancient country, so there are a lot of uneven surfaces, cobblestones, stairs, things like that. So making sure that you feel comfortable walking unassisted on all of those types of materials. And then finally, there is currently no visa required for US and Canadian citizens. Ireland is part of the EU, which is going to be launching a electronic visa program sometime in 2026. So that may change if you're registered for the trip and it does change before October. We would send you instructions on how to do that e-visa, and the expectation is that it would cost about 10 euros, so less than $15 for a 2-year entry to any of the EU countries. So, perfect. I will pause here and take any questions people have.
Um, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. For this trip, do you know who the host is going to be, and is it
Yes.
somebody that's been on the trip before?
Wonder, can you hear us? Um, okay,
I
so
can hear
Wonder is gonna
you.
be, hey, Wonder is gonna be your trip host. Wonder has not led the Ireland tour before, but she's led many WTA trips for us previously. And we're working with the same local guides that we've worked with in Ireland before. It's also an English-speaking country, so it's a pretty easy for everybody to navigate compared to some destinations. But we do have a really long-standing relationship with a tour company in Ireland. So we'll be working with them again, and then Wonder will be your main trip host.
Okay.
But Wonder, if you want to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about yourself.
Hello. I'm on my break at work, so I can't see who's on the call, but hello,
You're
I'm
good.
Wonder. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I am looking forward to joining you ladies in Ireland. So stay tuned. We'll have fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other questions?
I'm just thinking it's probably better to arrive like the night before versus the morning of.
Yeah, I would say most flights from the US are probably going to take you overnight. So if you wanted to arrive a day early, you'd probably leave like late at night on the night before and then
Yeah.
arrive. So if you wanted to arrive on the 20th, that would be fine and we can have a pre-night at the hotel. Or if you arrived really early in the morning on the 21st, say like 7 a.m., again, we could
Yeah.
have a pre-night for you available so that you could just sleep, take a nap, and then, meet the group in the afternoon. Either of those works well, and we'll just extend the reservation at the hotel by a night so that you don't have to change rooms or hotels or anything.
Okay, cool. That's one thing. And then I'm just thinking, yeah, as far as like dealing with jet lag, probably the night before is probably
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's pretty common on most of our trips that a
Okay.
lot of folks choose to come in a night early. So that's pretty standard. Our host always gets there a day early as well, so that she's
Okay.
there to sort of make sure that everyone's arrivals go smoothly. So you're definitely welcome to come in, on the 20th instead of the 21st. And that also gives you a little bit more time in Dublin if there were things that you wanted to visit or things outside of what our guided tour covers. You can always do that in your free time.
Okay. And then what about booking for, I haven't looked at what the times are on the return flights, but should we be aiming for like kind of midday or
Midday is nice for you in the sense that you don't have to be
yeah.
up quite as early. We'll
Yeah.
get you to the airport typically 2 to 2.5 hours before your flight, sometimes 3 hours, but Dublin's a pretty small airport. And it's close to the city. So you'd probably get picked up 3 hours before your flight from the hotel, get to the airport 2.5 hours early. We'll do that, if you say I have to leave at 4 a.m., no problem, we'll arrange
Okay.
that. But in general, most flights from Dublin to the US are probably going to be mid-morning to early afternoon that will
Okay.
leave probably between like 10 and 1 from in Ireland time, and then get you back to the US sort of late afternoon that same day, since you're going backwards in time.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Okay. Cool.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one
Yeah.
question just about like for the most part, like currency, are you guys like are most of your travelers working just like off of kind of like your credit card? That's like the credit debit
Yeah.
is the easiest as opposed to like
Yeah,
I don't
it's
even know
not
if people use travelers checks anymore or
most
worry about getting some currency change beforehand.
most people, especially Ireland, everything is tap to pay there.
Okay.
So, a credit card or a debit card, as long as you let your bank know that you're going to be traveling
Yeah.
to Ireland and the dates, is typically sufficient. I don't think you're going to need a lot of euros. If
Okay.
you have some euros, like great, but you don't need to go to your bank and get any ahead of time.
Okay.
We can always go to an ATM locally and you can use your debit
Yeah.
card to get, 50 euros or 100 euros out if you wanted to have some cash. But honestly, you can use your card to pay for pretty much everything.
Okay. That's good to know.
So, awesome.
Okay. And then
Well,
how many people do you normally like what's your typical kind of
group
size
size.
of the group? Yeah.
Yeah, so for this trip, the maximum on all of our trips is 8 to 10. This trip
Yeah.
will be 10. The minimum will be 4. And so my guess is that it'll be somewhere between like 5 and 8 travelers is
Okay.
where most of our trips end up being. When it's 4 to 5 travelers, we have just one trip host, so Wonder.
Yeah.
And then if it's 6 to 10 travelers, we'll have Wonder plus a host assistant. So that's a second staff member from our team who will be with the group for the tour, just to keep the ratio of staff to travelers really low. So that'll just depend on the final group size.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to take any other questions. Otherwise, what I will do is send a email with a link to this call, as well as the link to register for the trip. The way it works is you pay the $400 non-refundable deposit to reserve your spot, and then you'll either make monthly installment payments leading up to the trip, with the balance being due 90 days before travel. So if the trip is in October, September, August, July, right? End of July is when the balance payment would be due. And then the other option is to pay in full and get a small discount for paying up front. But you'll see that option, you can pick between those two on the registration form. And yeah, if you have any other questions, you're welcome to just send me an email and happy to answer them.
Good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining, and I wish everybody a good rest of their day. Thanks for coming in the middle of your afternoon, and I will talk to everybody soon.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.